Let's jump into the last story. It's just kind of a three-part story of the last 3 nights. I don't know if people are sick of it or not, but Mr. Seymour driving his Land Rover up. I'm always interested, Clint. They always talk about in the House, you can't call that person a liar, even if they're lying. David Seymour tells us 2 days ago that he had no idea they weren't allowed to go up the steps. We find out yesterday 2 times he was told we're not allowed to go up the steps. And today what he's saying is, I didn't realise that it was the speaker saying we couldn't go up the steps. I thought it was just the security guard. So fuck him, I was going to do what I want. So he's spinning it 7 ways from Sunday. Let's have a look at the wet bus ticket that was not hit with him today because he basically got away scot-free.
David Seymour has escaped punishment after One News revealed the ACT leader was told twice not to drive a Land Rover up the steps of Parliament earlier this week. Many, though, have been left unimpressed with his behaviour, both in Parliament and closer to home. Here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
Earlier this week, David Seymour was causing trouble at Parliament.
The Speaker has said no.
Out in his Epsom electorate today, voters weighed in.
It was stupid, wasn't it? But it was hardly a hanging offence.
No, not very flash. I don't like the guy, so I'm a bit biased. And I like the idea of driving a Land Rover up Parliament building steps.
I think it's attention-seeking.
And it was this One News
or diversionary. Let's not talk about Mr. Jargo, please. Let's get other things in the media to be talked about, perhaps.
footage
We're being told to keep off the steps.
that was the talk of Parliament today.
He drove the Land Rover up the steps of Parliament despite being told...
I mean, come on. Let's be honest. This is a bullshit story, right? I get it. It's a bullshit story. Who cares? He's a twat. He did think he was being arrogant, but I think the thing that for me all the time, Clint, is I want to measure these guys and girls, these plural guys, the group of politicians collectively known as guys, by the standards they set for other people and the standards they set for themselves. We all know if that was a Green Party driving an EV up there because they want, we all know what he would do and what he would say if someone broke the rules. He is a stickler for it when it's the opposition, and he seems very, I used the word petulant before, that's what it feels like a petulant 9-year-old when it's him doing it. This is a nothing story really, other than showing a couple of things. How little respect David Seymour has for the coalition group that he's in, and I guess the petulant nature of him that's basically going, I can do fucking anything, and what are you going to do about it? If you piss me off, I'm gone, government falls over. And that's where yesterday, when we talked yesterday, Clint, that was the time when we said maybe Peters at times is the adult in the room when the other two aren't.
I think the thing for me about this is that he said he didn't know, but he did. Like that, it's like, yeah, you don't need to get too high drudgeon about a silly stunt.
Yeah.
But that revealing that he was told he wasn't allowed to do it. Okay, he ignored that. That's arrogant. But then going around and lying and saying he didn't know, that to me is actually the worst personality trait here.
Yeah.
Like,
but the game he's playing now was I didn't know, second part of the sentence, the speaker had said it. He's trying to claim that I did know that security said it, but I didn't know. I stopped once I knew the speaker had said it. Now that's slimy. That's mealy mouthed bullshit. It's either you going, that's how little you think of the people standing around you that were protecting you at Waitangi. The biggest group of security I saw was at Waitangi. You respected them then, but in this instance, you're either saying fuck you, or it's you lying. They're the only two options. Both are not okay. We'll play some more of this, eh?
At least twice beforehand, he was not allowed to do that.
Why did you drive up the steps after you knew you weren't allowed to?
Well, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to.
The organiser told you a couple of times that security had told him you weren't allowed to go up those stairs.
As soon as I was aware that the Speaker himself had expressly forbidden it, I stopped.
Yeah, so fuck you, security guard. I'm not going to listen to the security guard. Why would I listen to the security guard? But once I knew the Speaker had done it. So I don't believe that to be true. It is my honest held belief, Clint, that I do not believe he is speaking truthfully in that. I think he knew, and I think he chose to ignore it.
Did you see, by the way, that TVNZ had 2 cameras there so that they could do the back on the reporting? Like that's quite funny. TV3 is running on phone cameras and TV.
Yeah. Sometimes they do noddies, which is the reverse later.
Yeah.
So it's either two cameras or it's I guess what the industry calls.
But they had all the others, all the other journalists wouldn't have stood around for them to do that.
So it probably is. It's TVNZ flexing, isn't it? It's their flex. What do you got? Oh, TV3. Good little boys and girls at TV3. We'll just bring out the big boys. All right. Well, Winston actually has a crack here. He has a crack at Mr. Seymour. It's famous that these two hate each other. And I wonder how much of this is Winston just sticking the knife in a little bit.
Deputy Prime Minister, unimpressed.
Well, you asked me would I have done that? Of course I wouldn't have.
Do you think it was disrespectful?
Look, you have to ask Mr. Seymour that, but the reality is that we found out that he was told twice. Congratulations to the media who got that evidence.
Labour wanted him
Winston saying congratulations to the media. How ironic is that?
You can
punished.
see him
The Speaker, though, says that
he's
David
wily.
Seymour's already said sorry.
Almost inevitably, a privilege case, if it were to be brought, would result in a request for an apology, which was very forthcoming, was forthcoming very quickly.
Labour tried a different tack.
Why is it acceptable for a minister in his government to ignore repeated warnings that he'd not been given approval to drive a Land Rover up the steps of Parliament and do it anyway, to deny he'd been told not to, and to criticise the security guard who stopped him?
In answer to the first part of the question, the Speaker has dealt to the issue.
There has been some...
We realised yesterday, Clint, that it's called question time. And no one makes a clearer example that it's not called answer time than Mr. Luxon. They get to ask the questions and he never answers one. I think we should petition the government to start an answer time because I'd like to hear a couple rather than question time. I don't know about you. Sorry, you go.
I won't digress too much, but the General Secretary of the Labour Party, Rob Salmon, did his doctorate on different question times around the world, and you should have him on sometime. He could tell you for hours about how he could do it better than we do it here.
Yeah, you should send me that detail tonight. I'm just going to play the last 40 seconds of this, and then we're done.
Good news though, the Land Rover was here for charity, raising money for heart research to help kids. And since the incident here on Monday behind me, more than $40,000 has been donated by both fans and critics of David Seymour. Some say he's just acting up.
No, he's very good when he's the most reasonable man in the room debating, and he's very good when he's doing his sort of winking sort of...
I mean, is he ever the most reasonable man in the room? Must be. Imagine being in that fucking room. I don't want to be in that room where he's the most reasonable. Good God.
Bringing everyone in on the joke, being a bit petulant about not being able to drive a Land Rover on the parliamentary forecourt is maybe pushing it out a bit far.
And that's saying something in a place used to theatrics.
All right, Clint, any thoughts around that to wrap up that story before we head off?
Yeah, I just I think the big thing is Luxon's weakness here, right? Like because the letter to the police, the way he dealt with the case around his president, they all speak to a real not lack of judgment even, but sort of lack of the right values that we should expect in a minister. And I think if it were any other minister, the combined weight of those things would have the Prime Minister saying, actually, mate, you're going to have to, we're going to have to get someone else in to do your portfolios.
Yeah.
And everyone says, look, you can't discipline him because he's a party leader. Well, there's three parties in the coalition. They all have veto, right? So, like, what's Seymour going to do? Going to go, oh, if you take away one of my associate roles or whatever, I'm going to pull down the government? Well, then he's no longer a minister either. Neither are all his colleagues. So, you know, it's not actually beyond the Prime Minister to discipline Seymour here and stare him down and say, dare you to pull down the government? Because you won't do it. Of course, he's not going to pull down the government because he loses an associate portfolio or whatever. He won't be a minister anymore, and you'll get slaughtered at the next election. So, where is Luxon's strength here? You know, and it goes back to how from the start he's given his minor party leaders too much free rein, and they're walking all over him.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been talking about the last few nights. This is CEO Luxon. I think CEO Luxon thinks you can always negotiate. And sometimes you actually have to put your foot down, and I don't know if he's got that skill set in him or not. We shall see.